Good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Sanchez. You are live watching the Wise Morning Coffee Chat Show. Woohoo! So, we are super excited. We actually have been talking already for the last like half an hour, 45
Yeah.
minutes. So, I'm hyped up about the conversation that we're about to have. So, I want to make sure that you guys know if you guys are actually watching from the Facebook group that's in our community, make sure you give permission to a restream to show your name so that this way we make sure that we can see who you are. So again, that's the link. I put it in the comment section. So who am I? My name is Jennifer Sanchez. I'm the founder of the Women's Institute of Self-Development and Efficacy. I know that's super long, so just call it WISE for short. We have a show we put together to highlight the women in our community, whether they're partners, whether they're alumni, whether they engage. We just want to bring amazing women together and talk over a great cup of coffee. So that is who I am. I'll take it over to my co-host over here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nara, and I am a WISE alumni. I'm a mother, and I am studying for my Salesforce certification.
Woohoo! Good
And I'm a
stuff,
wife.
Nara. Yeah, wife, mother, all that good stuff. Thank
Yes.
you, Nara. And then we're gonna take it down over here to Maria.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Paloma, and I'm going to lead with I'm a wife and a mom because I always tend to leave that for last. I do have three grown children, adult children, and two of them are still home. One just moved out, and I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm also a classroom teacher, full-time dual language classroom teacher. I'm also a yoga instructor. I'm looking to get my 300 hour certification starting next year. Super excited about that. But in the meantime, I'm mentoring in the community, the Breathe for Change community. So if you're an educator, I highly encourage you to check that out. I'm also a financial consultant part time. So I'm super excited about that new endeavor because fortunately or unfortunately, not sure yet which it is, I will be retiring in a couple of years from teaching. And I just can't sit still. So I'm looking to see what else to dig my nails into. So keeping
Um,
busy. I'm also president of the Fig Factor Foundation. So we got a lot going on there too. I'll share a little bit more about that later.
yeah, Maria's definitely a busy bee. So she's definitely the person to go to. And we're excited because Maria's going to be speaking at our event on the 22nd. She's going to be teaching us about putting some money to the side and having like
Mhm.
an emergency fund. So we'll
Oh,
share more
lots of things.
details.
Yeah, lots of
Yeah,
things.
we'll show more details about that later. So we want to make sure we say hi. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Mary. Uh,
Mary.
we also have
Morning.
Sonia. Good morning,
Um,
Sonia.
is that the
Um,
Sonia from yesterday, Sonia, or just
No,
no, this is a different Sonia. Sonia
no, that
Delgado.
was Sandra. Yesterday was
Sandra.
Sandra.
Yeah. So we
Sandra
have
Reyes. Yeah.
so we have a running community too. So we get women to run with us every Sunday morning. And yesterday we did a little hiking, little trail hiking over there in the woods. So that was fun. Um, so let's go into, of course, coffee time. So if you are watching, this is a part of the show, just share what you're drinking with us. I'm a big believer that your personality shows, who you are and the way you drink your coffee. Maybe you don't even drink coffee. Maybe you're a tea person, and that also says a little bit about you. I just think it's fun. So I used to have a coworker that used to drink. I used to make fun of her because she would drink sugar with her coffee. Like, that's how I would say. It's like, you're not drinking coffee with sugar. You're drinking sugar with coffee. Just saying. Because it was like 8 packets of sugar. And she would
Oh,
put, I was like, that's like candy. Like, I don't know what you're drinking,
yeah.
girlfriend. um,
That is funny.
so go ahead, Nora, share with us what you are drinking this morning.
I'm drinking black coffee with a splash of certified organic oat milk, and then I have some spices, some cinnamon, and some pumpkin pie spice, and a teaspoon of coconut oil.
Oh,
Wow.
dang, that's
That's a,
nice.
yeah, interesting mixture.
I know the
Yep.
coconut oil
Mhm.
just intrigued me. Why
Mhm.
are we putting coconut oil in it? Just curious.
Well, because the coconut oil helps digest. It helps to stick to stuff and helps the digestion
I
Mm.
also
and
heard it's great
coat.
as um it boosts your immune system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
I've
moisturizes your lips as you drink it. Mwah.
I love it. Let me go get
oh,
me some. I love
yes,
it.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so what are you drinking, Maria?
I'm drinking my usual Kirkland brand, but I want to show off my cup here.
Oh,
Oh, teacher
teachers.
fuel.
Oh, I
Teacher
love
fuel.
that.
Even on my day off, I need my teacher fuel.
I love teacher fuel, if that's what we're gonna call it, because I drink coffee all the time.
Yeah. So I used to be the drink creamer with coffee girl because it was like,
Mm.
you know, and then I had to cut the creamer up. So I'm drinking it black with just one packet of sugar.
Oh, see, hey. I know that people do the honey in it, the
Yeah.
stevia in it, the sugar-free vanilla syrups. Like, I know there's so many good options to bring the
Mhm.
sweetness. So, I see Mary shared a comment. She put, "Is that MCT oil cleans you out?" Well, I was wondering about. I just saw MCT oil in the store this weekend, and I was like,
What is that? What is
I don't know.
MCT?
I literally was like, I need to Google what MCT is for because it was on the shelf and in the health section. And I was like, what's this for? And now I'm gonna look it up because I don't mind looking it up. So I'm drinking black coffee actually, and I forgot to put lemon in it. But if you watched last week's show, I was putting lemon in my coffee because I forget to do the hot lemon water in the mornings. Like, as much as I try to do the hot lemon water, I keep forgetting. So I said this week, I'm gonna be putting splash of lemon in my coffee. And actually, it's not bad. It's not, and it's supposed to help your digestion. I'm gonna give a good positive report here. I did lose some inches off my waist. I also have been lifting weights, so I know I've been kicking my butt in the gym, but I know that maybe the two combined together have been really working for me. So just wanted to share that good news if anyone wants to try it. It sucks at first; it tastes terrible. But I bought French vanilla coffee and then I put the lemon in it, so it kind of tastes like lemon cake.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
congrats on the inch.
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, an
Yes,
inch is good, right?
that's right. Yes, for sure.
Um,
Awesome.
So I have also Mary, she said, I'm drinking my chocolate recovery drink since I did my workout this morning. Awesome. I didn't drink any recovery drink yesterday, actually, now that I think about it, but
Mhm.
You said
uh,
we ended up doing 4 miles, right? Well, I heard it.
Mhm.
I heard somebody say that. Did
yeah,
anybody else hear that? Somebody said it
Yeah.
was 4 miles we ended up doing.
yeah, we did
Mhm.
almost 4 miles. It was like what did I say? 370, three something.
Right.
We
Yeah.
almost did 4 miles yesterday. So good job,
Yeah.
ladies. I was a little sore in the evening. I was. The hike.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
the hikes always get me. Hikes get me. I don't know
Mhm.
why. Um, so for those that are watching, make sure you share what you're drinking. Of course, we want to make sure that we show some love to Cafe Ama Love, who has donated some coffee to the show. They provide coffee from Puerto Rico. It's the beans left over from the hurricane. Very strong coffee, so check them out. Use the code WISE for 20% discount. But we're gonna go straight into Indigenous Peoples Day. I think let's talk about this conversation. I know today's Columbus Day for those that are old school. This is how I remembered it, right?
Mm.
How long ago has it changed, Maria? I know, Maria, you're in the school system. When did it
Yeah.
change
I
and
mean,
made the official?
this is really in my school district, this is the first year they actually call it that. And lots of places are not calling it that yet. I don't even think that it's like in official change. I mean, I know that there's lots of places who are like refusing to change it. You know, there's a big controversy here in Chicago with the Columbus statues. You know, they were taken down. The Italian community was in uproar about it. Um, and I mean, I get it. It's controversial because he was an important in history, in many ways, positive and negative. But I know that this is controversial because there's so many other issues in the world that need our attention, and changing the name of a day may not be as important. But it's important to note that it's that it's being observed. You know, that
Mm,
somebody is talking about it and changing it, and focusing. I mean, there's a big push to in some communities to even research like where you live and to find out what that land was originally called. And then you kind of introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Maria Paloma and I live in the blah 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 land, which would have been like the name of the land originally, the original name of the land. So there's a push for that as well.
really?
Yeah.
So I know that Chicago is stands for swamp water, swamp lake.
No, I thought it was onions because of onions in the region.
Really?
Or is it Illinois? It's Chicago or Illinois, one of those.
Maybe Illinois. I do know that I've looked up like what's the indigenous name for Chicago, and I
Oh.
thought it represented swampy
Mm.
water or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Oh no, you're right. There's here it is.
Yeah.
Is Chicago, meaning striped skunk or onion.
Yeah.
According to early explorer, the lakes and streams around Chicago were full of wild onions,
Mm-hmm.
leeks, and ramps. You're right. There we go. I stand
Mm.
corrected.
Yeah.
So where did I hear the swamp water?
It might be Illinois
It
because
could,
I
it could be Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, it may be. You're right because I know that that was one of the things. Like, was Chicago built on a swamp? Um, I don't know. There's a lot of. It's possible. Who knows? So That's cool. Actually, Maria, I didn't know that. So Indigenous
Yeah.
Day, I know my children's school call it Indigenous Day. Like my
Mm-hmm.
daughter was like, "Oh, we're off tomorrow for Indigenous Day." I was like, "Oh, that's what
Yeah.
it is." Like
Yeah.
that's what we're. I didn't know that that's what your school was calling it already. I was like, "Okay, cool," because I know that they have the Columbus Day parade right in downtown Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
they're still doing the Columbus
Mm-hmm.
Day parade, from my
Right.
understanding.
Yeah.
So and I remember when they vandalized or tried vandalizing the Columbus statue that's on Roosevelt in
Mm-hmm.
downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we were running by it, me and Maria, if she's still watching, and they had it covered up, and there was like
Mm-hmm.
police guarding it. So I do remember all of that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Anyone want to mention anything on air?
was just gonna say when I looked at my calendar just now on my phone, they have Columbus Day and Indigenous Day in the Apple calendar listed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. Well,
Yeah.
I know it's Indigenous Day because I started seeing a couple years ago how the Native Americans in social media, they this was a day of mourning,
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
Indigenous people.
Right. Yeah.
It's
They
not
don't celebrate.
they don't celebrate for
Right.
them, they're mourning. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of how do you celebrate one thing but then like grieve at the same time? It kind of sounds it's contradicting,
Right.
right? So I could
Yeah.
see why they do that.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, let's go on to our next topic because I think we have a lot to talk about. So I hope you guys are ready for a great conversation, you guys. Um, so we're gonna go first into DV month. So I know this month, I think it's also Cancer Awareness Month. It's Domestic Violence Month, right? Awareness Month. So I don't know how many people here I started watching. They started watching Maid. I know that's a Netflix series. I know Maria, you said you didn't, but me and Nara have. I just started it. But Maid actually, I think it really points out the white elephant. That white elephant in the room that no one ever wants to talk about, which is domestic violence because it's one of those like hidden crimes. No one ever talks about it if it's happening, or it might be socially acceptable depending on the community or
Mm-hmm.
the culture that you're in. It's like whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, that's true.
but maid actually, I it's a little triggering too, in all honesty. So I don't know if anyone started watching it, but it is this month. We're gonna be having an event on the 22nd
Oh,
for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We're gonna be talking about investments, we're gonna be talking about saving money, and we're actually gonna go ahead and create perfume oils. And we're going to be meeting in Pilsen on the 22nd, which is a Friday. So I'm excited about that event to talk about. And the proceeds from the ticket are going to go towards a domestic violence organization. So this is more of our philanthropy event. We want to make sure we give back to the community and give back to someone that's making changes in the domestic violence arena. Any thoughts, ladies, on either or MAID or Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
yeah, that was a really hot topic for so long. And like you said, it's just something that people don't talk about. And definitely in some communities, it's even taboo. It's like, the Hispanic community, if the man is very machista and he's, wanting things a certain way, it's like, pues así son las cosas, mija. That's just the way men are. And that's the way the roles are. The men do this and the women do this. And if he yells or even strikes you, whatever, like así son
Yeah.
las cosas, like no, that they're not, they shouldn't be that way. But if you grow up being told that, then you'd start to believe it. And I think that's what happens a lot in relationships, that women just start believing that this is just how it is, and I have no recourse, and that's just my life. And it's
Mm,
very difficult then to mentally get out of that, seek help, and then by the time you're seeking help, it's just so difficult because now, you're in this like very deep relationship where even the man is like, no, you're not getting away, and you're gonna stay here. And
yeah,
unfortunately, it's cyclical, because then the children grow up in the environment, and then they grow up thinking, oh, this is the way life should be, and this is the way you behave. Boys
yeah.
with girls, girls with boys. So it's a hard conversation to have.
It really is, and I don't think a lot of people don't like to have this conversation. It makes people feel uncomfortable too,
Hmm.
because if domestic violence is very common in the family or the household, or like, even like the tias and the like, and there's no awareness around that this is wrong,
Hmm.
no one's gonna really want to talk about it. Like, I just thought of weddings. Like, tell me what Hispanic weddings do, especially Mexican weddings. There's this one thing that I know that we do in weddings that I'm like, this is actually not healthy. It's actually pretty toxic, but I'm gonna leave that up to you guys, see if you guys figure that one out. What do you think, Maria, it is?
In weddings,
Yeah, in Hispanic weddings,
right?
specifically, I don't know if all Hispanics do it, but I know for sure Mexicans do it. There's an
Okay.
actual tradition,
Like ritual.
that you
Uh-huh.
do and you dance.
Oh, it's la víbora de la mar. Is that what you're thinking
No,
of? No, what are you thinking of?
no. It's the one where you grab the woman has the belt and the man has
Oh,
the broom. Yeah, and they're
I've never
dancing
seen
around.
that.
So
Oh,
some weddings they've done it. I've
okay.
seen it. It's like a thing. Like, you walk around and you're like with the bell and you're swinging it. The woman swinging the bell and the husband is like with the mop,
The
oh, Lord
broom.
help me, the
The
broom,
broom.
walking around. And I'm saying that like,
No, I honestly, I've never seen that. What is the purpose of that? That's
no,
hilarious.
I just saw a wedding do it. I can't be the only one that's seen this. I
Yeah,
just
I
saw
honestly, I've never seen that. Yeah.
I just saw a wedding do it on Facebook, and I was
Oh, wow.
like, people find it funny and they
Right.
crack up like, ha ha
Yeah.
ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But like, that's really not healthy.
Mm.
That's really not good. It's not a positive image for like,
Wow. No,
this is
of
how
course
we're gonna
not.
start a marriage. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
They're assuming their new roles, and their mom is the disciplinary, and the mom is staying at home, and the dad will go
Probably.
and clean
Okay.
and go and work and provide. It's
Yeah,
very
but they don't clean.
Well, no,
I think the cleaning is working, and
Okay.
the
Okay.
whip is like the mom, like the disciplinary.
the
Like
discipline.
Maybe.
I do
Okay.
notice, in Hispanic
That's funny.
households, a lot of time the women are like the head of the home. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
their area. Don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they operate, they manage. I think all women are
Mm-hmm.
like the house
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
managers.
Yeah.
Majority. I don't want to say
Majority. Yeah.
all because
Mm-hmm.
majority, right?
Majority. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that tradition in some weddings that people do, I think it's supposed to take on like reverse roles. Like the man,
Mm-hmm.
like the woman, it's kind of just like a joke. Like the woman's
Mm-hmm.
the one pretending to be the man, with the bell,
Um,
and the man's pretending to be the woman with the broom. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
you're kind
oh,
of affirming, or hey, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your
Yeah.
life in this marriage, right? um
Yeah.
so yeah, I just wanted to share that. And I know, and I guess, to be really, domestic violence is 1 out of 3 women that are in a domestic violence situation. And me and Nara were actually having a conversation because the show made, and Maria, just so that maybe when you have time to watch it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the woman doesn't identify as a domestic violence victim or a victim of domestic violence because she's not actually being physically beaten.
Mm. Got it. Yes.
She's more of the use of force
Mm-hmm.
is more through threats, or
Mental.
yeah, mental abuse, throwing
Mm-hmm.
things at the wall, stuff
verbal,
like that.
emotional.
Verbal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the scenes where a social worker was like, you can call the cops, you're still a domestic violence victim. But she was kind of like, what am I supposed to tell the cop? That was the biggest line that stood out to me. She's like, that he didn't hit me, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
she felt she was taking from someone else who is getting beaten. But I think a lot of people don't understand domestic violence is very like complex. There's a lot of levels to it.
Yeah. It's a huge spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. So, for those that don't know, and then it's 1 out of 4 teenagers are in a domestic
Mm-hmm.
violent
Mm-hmm.
relationship. So your teenagers, you also gotta keep an eye out for, because you don't know what they're going through in
Mm-hmm.
their relationship. So,
Yes.
um, anyone want to share anything around Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
Yeah, and I think the other issue here is um, why does it happen in the first place? I think we touched upon the fact that it's cyclical, right? Like it if it's in your home, then you're like, yeah, this is the way that I'm a boy. When I grow up and be a man, like this is how I behave. But I think it even goes deeper than that, where a lot of times it's, and I'm generalizing, of course, because I'm not referencing any statistics, but it feels like it comes from a place of lack of self-esteem, and the man's lack of worth. Like he's maybe not, in a high paying job, and, he's not happy with himself. So now he's got to come and take it out on somebody,
Yeah.
and it maybe manifests that way. And of course, I'm being very general. Of course, it's not like this every situation, but you just have to wonder, like, where does it come from, and how can we help them? And I mean, domestic violence goes both ways. There
Women
are
do. Yep.
men who are abused as well, and again, it doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like you can't help but wonder, where does it come from? Why do people behave the way they do? And helping them somehow, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually 1 out of 5. Is it 1 out of 7 men or 1 out of 5 men are in domestic violence,
Mhm.
also relationships? And for a man, right, it's demasculating if you're gonna be like, oh, I
Yeah,
get hit or I get verbally abused, right?
right.
So they might not reach out for help because of
Yes.
just the stigma behind it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I want to make sure that for anyone that is like, if they are struggling in a relationship, we did put, there is a phone number, there is hotlines, there is help. If you're wondering, like, at the end of the day, I think a relationship shouldn't feel, right? You shouldn't be put down, feel bad. And Maria, you made a comment like, where does this come from? It is definitely a generational thing. Like, there is these belief systems that are associated with it, of the roles. And usually it's the perpetuator had learned it from someone
Hmm.
in their home. They
Yeah.
were
Hmm.
maybe abused. Like, I was
Yeah.
reading an article I don't know, I think it was made for school, where it was saying how, like, the sons, or usually when you are in a domestic, or you're abused as a child physically, you're either going to become a victim or a perpetuator.
Mhm,
And the
mhm.
chances are, if you're a boy, you're going to be the perpetuator. If
Right.
you're a
Yeah,
girl,
yeah.
you're going to become a victim. Or maybe it was a book that I was listening to on narcissists, but
Mhm.
definitely, you're always reading. I don't know where
I
I'm
know.
getting this.
They all
Like,
get mixed up.
which one is this from? But the chances are that it's something it's a
Mhm.
learned behavior.
Right.
I could really appreciate social media now, though, how it's always like, teach your boys. Like, it's not always about the girls. Teach your boys.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, if anyone has any comments, questions, we'll keep talking about this all of the month of October.
Do
If
you want to talk about the event?
Yeah,
Mention where it's at.
it's gonna be at 1622 South Blue Island. It's at Exit Realty at Home. We will be gathering there on the 22nd, and we're gonna be putting together. It's a domestic violence awareness event, but the great thing is we're gonna have workshops and speakers, and we get to do the oils. The Is it called the perfume oil, or what would you call it, Maria?
Essential
What did
oil.
what
It's
did she call it? It's like a body oil, but
I love this oil,
because I
Nara.
no, because I bought so we met this lady at another event that we were at, and um, I bought the body butter, and it's amazing. um,
It sure
I
is.
was trying to find what she called it, what kind of oil it was. Of course, I can't
Yes.
find it now.
So we went to an event. Me and Maria both went to an event, and there was this woman there who is a small business. She's not an MLM. It's her
Hmm.
own company, and she makes perfume oils, or perfumes that are oil base, and she
Hmm.
makes body butters, lotions. I think, like, even beard oil. Like, I saw all these things on her flyer. But what I thought was really cool was, you can make your own scent. So, like, we're bringing her to our event so that ladies can make their own perfume, the scent that they want to make it. So she had cute names too. I think mine was called Hot Girl Summer. Like, I was like, I
Ah,
love it. Was so funny because she was like, try this smell. And I was like, it's good, but I don't know. I like Hot Girl Summer. And then she's like, well, try this one. I'm like, no, it's still Hot Girl Summer for me. Like, the perfume was called, it just smelled so good to me. So I bought the body butter and the oil, but I love it. Like, I never really got into body butter like this. This is the first time I'm really into body butter. I'm not even gonna lie.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, Maria.
Hmm. I've used I'm not sure if they call it body butter, but it's from uh, Bath and Body Works, and they also mentioned that theirs are very natural based, so they don't have like all these other chemicals like other companies. Like you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I love Bath and Body Works. I love their stuff, but some of these other products might have other
Chemicals or
things in them,
something.
chemicals and things in them. Yeah. So that was the
Yeah.
other thing that she pointed out. But it is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
have you
I
guys ever
enjoy.
considered making your own?
Well, that's what we're gonna be doing
Like
at this
own
event.
Yeah.
soaps, own lotions, all that stuff?
Oh,
Like at home?
like at home, like by myself? Like,
I've never
well,
tried. No.
no. I mean, she's gonna provide a kit so that you can make it, and she's gonna tell you, here are all the things that you mix together and how you get the smell and all that. I don't know the chemistry behind how you make it happen, but all I
Right.
know is that I just want something that smells pretty. Uh, so it's really nice. I just wanted to share that event with you ladies on the air. We're excited to have this event. Um, so let's go into our next topic of conversation. Um, Actually, I know that one's going to be a long. I know we wanted to also highlight that it's ADHD Awareness Month.
Mm.
So Nara, you could take the lead on that convo.
Yeah, just bringing awareness. I say I actually had postpartum ADHD, and that ignited a a journey for me into the depths of ADHD that I was diagnosed with, as a very young child in a very traditional sense. The teachers or the schools contacted, my mom and, made her aware, and she brought me to a doctor, did a bunch of tests, blah, blah, blah. And I was put on a stimulant, to help me focus in school. And I basically lived like 35 years of my life thinking I knew what it was when I had just like, very surface information on it. And it wasn't until I was postpartum and I was experiencing a lot of it. And postpartum depression runs in my family. So before I left the hospital, I actually had an appointment made with a therapist, and basically what was going to happen is they were going to monitor me for postpartum depression with a therapist and things like that. And I was really excited about that, but I wasn't really feeling depressed. There was a lot of other things happening, and I didn't know. I thought it was my epidural. I thought it was side effects from my epidural, because you hear all the time, you get the epidural and you're never good and you're not this. And I was experiencing things that I had never experienced, but I knew it wasn't really depression. I was talking to my therapist about it, and I'll also have anxiety. And so it was just like, I couldn't put my finger on it, and she was giving me like these things to practice, and it wasn't helping. And I remember, I lost some motor skills, actually. People don't understand, ADHD, a big part of it is, it's attention deficit hyper disorder. And the hyper does not stand actually for, somebody physically getting hyper or causing a lot of problems in school. The reality is only little boys actually a lot of times will be hyper on the outside. So hyper stands for because we have a hyper focus, or if we're happy, we are hyper happy. If we're sad, we are hyper sad. We don't have in our minds, in our brains, our brain chemistry, where a lot of people, oh, I'm happy today, great. Well, when an ADHD person we're hyper. We have hyper focuses. We're not just going to read, if we want to learn how to make up, we're not just going to watch a YouTube tutorial. We're going to sit there and like do a Netflix binge on YouTube and go into a deep hole and hyper fixate on that subject. And so for that reason, that's a really big misconception with ADHD. Thank you for giving me the platform to say that, because a lot of people, when I was like, they're like, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going through postpartum ADHD. The number of people that were like, had a blank look on their face and like, oh, so you can't focus like on the baby, or... And I'm like, I'm like, oh my gosh. So what happens with ADHD in the brain is that we have a lack of dopamine. So we tend to look for things for dopamine. And so if you know me, I love to do events, and I'm really, really good at it. And I'm really good at making people feel special and things like that. And that's because I know exactly how to do that. I know exactly how to get the dopamine in people going, because I chase dopamine my whole life. I've been chasing dopamine. So it's really cool when people, and I'm going on a tangent right now, but it's really cool when people figure that out and they can associate that with their ADHD. But dopamine also doesn't just control emotions, it does the fine motor skills. So after my baby, what I've kept saying, I'll explain that, is I lost the ability to react in real time. And actually, Maria saw it happen to me. we were at a event for Wise, and there is this guy being super mean in traffic. Maria and another lady and I were crossing the street, and the guy had decided to wait for us to cross the street like a gentleman. And we did have the walk sign on, but you know, he was not going to be rude and just go. But the guy behind him was like obnoxiously, rudely beeping the horn. And before I knew it, I was giving the guy a lecture on how to be nice and how to be a kind human being in a very loud voice and a very aggressive manner. And that was a completely out of body experience that I had no control over it. And then I like came to and I realized what I had done. I was like, oh my gosh. But I also did something like my baby at one point, she almost fell off our ottoman. And I was not able to react and like grab her. I just sat there and I like watched it. And, you know, she didn't fall and my husband grabbed her, but it was like I was just sitting there and I didn't have a lack of not wanting to do it. I just couldn't do that. And so, you know, dopamine, again, it's not just a feel-good biochemical. It affects a lot of things. And I remember I was sitting at my brother and sister-in-law's house, and I just kept talking. And in my mind, I was saying, stop talking, close your mouth. And I was literally just repeating what I was saying. And I couldn't stop. It was the weirdest thing. But now I'm a lot better, but I've decided to experiencing it. So basically when you are postpartum, your ADHD symptoms can go anywhere from 3 to 6 times worse. And so I thought I knew what ADHD was. It was a really bad experience for me to go through because just like anything else, ADHD is on a spectrum. And I was like, there are people that are going through this every single day, and I'm considered high functioning. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I decided to use my social media platform to just start sharing facts because, like I said, when I shared it with people, they were like, cool, so you can't focus. Like, it's so much more than focusing. It's so much more than, it's great that teachers, and Maria, you're a teacher, I'm just curious, how do they train you to recognize it? Because it's weird to me that they focus so much on the hyperness when the hyperness is not, the hyperness and ADHD is only really a sign in boys. It's the hyperactivity on the outside. So how do they, as a teacher, how do they train you to recognize it?
I mean, we don't actually go through a full out training session. We do watch videos that that could be like, I believe it's like a 30-minute video that gives us more of awareness of it. But hyperactivity is predominantly in boys, but it is in girls too. It is. It's not just boys. So it is in both. But we have psychologists and social workers in our buildings that do a full-on assessment for that. So, you know, teachers, we are not actually trained to be like diagnosed and to be able to say, yeah, this child, this is what they have. What we do is, you know, we may collect data on other areas, more academic areas where they may not be performing at their grade level. And then we would make a referral. So we work as a team. So we actually meet, you know, with our principals, our social workers, psychologists, and we might even bring somebody into the district who's a specialist who will then assess the child. So it is a very long process. It's not just something that you can be like, oh, yep, he's that, and that, yeah, she didn't know. It doesn't work that way at all because it is such a such a complex issue. And like you just said, it's a huge spectrum that, you know, in order to to really pinpoint how to help the child, you need a team of people. And then also their doctor, their family doctor gets involved too, because it could become a medical issue where they might have to be given medication to help them, function, whether it's to focus or,
Yeah.
to work in the classroom. So it's very complex, and there's teachers do not diagnose, or teachers do
You
not make. We may make a recommendation as to who should come and observe the child, but that it's a very long process, and then we need parent permission. We just can't be like, yeah, we're gonna do this for your child. We can say this is what we see, and this is what we think we should be observing, but we need more information.
you
The, sorry, Nara. I just wanted to share the caption. I saw that you shared this link for adults, since we're talking about evaluations. Nara, you suggested that if someone's thinking that they might have ADHD, that they can do this and then take it to their doctor, right?
Yeah, this is what I use because, like I said, I use social media to start bringing awareness to what ADHD really meant outside of just a focus. And a lot of people were telling me, oh, I got a lot of women that were messaging me like, hey, I really resonate with your post. And people coming out of the woodwork asking me, what should I do? And so I found this is an assessment, and it's not meant as a diagnosis, because Maria, which I'm surprised that Maria is even saying this. And it just goes to show I was in school so long ago, and this is where
Oh, she froze.
Oh,
it makes me so happy.
You're freezing, Nara. We can't hear you. Maybe she can't hear us.
yeah, her internet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues in education that are so complex. I mean, even just learning disabilities. When you say a child has a learning disability, you can't just say they have a learning disability. Again, that is another huge spectrum. Like, what does it mean? And you can't do this alone. Not even a teacher, not even a social worker, not even a psychologist. Really, it's a team that comes together to make a full-on assessment. And this could take up to 6 months. Because they have to, get an appointment, go here, go there, observe them in different areas too, not just the classroom, but you've got them in gym class, which is a totally different environment. It's a more unstructured space. You've got them at recess and at lunchtime, and they have just different behaviors in those areas. So you can't just be like, oh, they need this, like as a teacher, I can't be like, they need this, and that. Oh, but you know what? They function really well. They're very social. They're very this, they're very that. Or maybe they're not social. They're introverted here, but in the classroom, they participate. So it's like just so many aspects of a child, as you can imagine, that you can't just pinpoint it. And sorry, Nara, you froze, and so we didn't hear the last part of that.
I was just going to say, this is just something that, you take, and if it's resonating, or if a lot of the assessment turns out to say, hey, it's something that you can just bring into your doctor and say, I took this assessment by this accredited organization, and it kind of alerted me to it, and I just wanted to know if you could help me with resources, to further, seek answers and help me. It's not meant like you don't just take this little free assessment and you're like, oh, I'm ADHD. Please don't do that. But it's just a tool that, hey, if this resonates, you just bring it to a professional and say, can we start this journey? I've kind of felt this way my whole life. And it's very, very difficult, actually. I was surprised to hear Maria say it could take up to 6 months, because as adults across the country, and I think that Chicago's a little different, because I'm in a lot of support groups and I hear women talk about their journeys, and I'm like, well, that's not Chicago, but sometimes it can take up to 2 years for an official diagnosis, because it's just very, very tricky. But I was going to ask you, Maria, do you think that the school district that you work at and the way that you hand the school district, the protocols that you were describing, you think that is, where does that fall on the spectrum in America as far as school districts? Do you think that's like very progressive, or do you think that's kind of just the norm? It's what all school districts are doing, or like?
Oh my gosh, Nara, that's such a huge question.
I would have no probably idea. Not.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and that's all I know. Like, had I worked, you know, X amount of years here and X amount of years here, like, that's all I know. I've been in this district now for 14 years, and I believe that they are very proactive in just assessing children overall. And when I mean assessing, I don't mean like taking a test. I mean like assessing an overall child. We also have a social emotional learning component to our assessment. So I should say maybe data collection, because again, you know, we're talking about people here. They're little people. They're still people, very complex. And, you know, as much as we want them to come to school and do their work and learn and absorb it and take it home and bam, push them to the next grade, it's, you know, it's more than that. You know, you have to get to know the child. Like, you have to really, you know, find out what ticks for them, right? We are dealing with a whole bunch of other issues now because of the pandemic. Some of our kids were home the entire year, receiving one-on-one attention from an adult. Well, they can't get that from us anymore. You know, they get our attention, but it's not one-on-one 24/7 like it was, you know, a year ago for them. So we've had some children with detachment issues. You know, they come to school crying, and I'm talking second, third graders. You know, second graders, third graders. Like, when that happens in kindergarten, you're like, okay, yeah, that's absolutely okay, we'll deal with it. But now you got a second grader, third grader coming to school crying because they don't want to leave their mom because they were home with them for how long, you know? So now that's a whole other issue we have to deal with. So I feel like we are very proactive in that regard, where we are looking at academic components as well as the social emotional learning component, because you can't look at one without the other. You know, they impact each other. So,
and I love that. And I have to say, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nara.
While we were talking, I think my brain raked up a lady, I'll keep her confidential, who reached out to me, and we were talking, and her child is 13 and takes 10 milligrams less than what I do. And her child's in CPS, and her child was getting sick, and she was gonna take her child to the ER, and she's like, I really think it's this medication. And I was shocked at the medication level. And it was a CPS child. And because I'm 5'9" and I'm like 265. And so for a 13-year-old child to be taking 10 less milligrams than what I do as an adult, and mind you, with ADHD, it gets worse with age. So it's very common for if you're on medication, if you're on that spectrum that needs medication, it's common for your medication to go up in age. So for me to be 35, to be postpartum, to be experiencing it triple, for this kid to be on 10 milligrams less, I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. Of course, I'm not a specialist, I'm not an expert, but I was like, yeah, that's probably making, because it's the child was on a stimulant. I'm like, yeah, that might be making the child sick. But I just want to tell parents to be an advocate for your child, and to understand, you know, ADHD, it comes with sensory, it comes with relationship issues, it comes with, you know, ADHD is here, and then a whole host of other problems and a lot of other things like depression and anxiety. You can be autistic and ADHD. You can have Down syndrome and have ADD or ADHD. You can, it's not, I think a lot of people from my experience, they're like, how can you be autistic and have ADHD? Well, they're not the same thing. And also just in mental health awareness, that I know, like in my marriage, I have to verbalize when I'm not feeling good, because it's not like I'm walking around with a broken leg. I'm not, and I could be experiencing symptoms that are going on in my head. And I have to like tell my husband, like, I'm not feeling good, or, this is sensory overload for me, or something like that. Like, I have to verbalize that. And I don't think I ever did, as an adult, and so that's like really helped my husband. But imagine like teenagers, or imagine people that aren't diagnosed and they're not able to say, hey, my brain's a little fried today. Or you're walking into work and you're being held to a standard that you can't meet,
Yeah, I want to share a couple comments here because I know we have some comments. And one thing that I did want to say, because I know you were really into the conversation, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes, I am rambling though, so please.
No, you're fine. Was, Maria, we know that Maria's district that she's in, it has a plethora of resources, right? We know
Yes.
that the community that she serves it has resources and has funding. But if you're going to look at a school like CPS, which is huge, there is a lot of, I mean, it's been a big thing. You don't get the same amount of resources in one school compared to another school. So, Pilsen might not get the same thing as someone in Englewood, for example,
Oak Brook, Bartlett,
yeah,
upstate New York, like
you're not
so
gonna
different.
exactly.
But I thought Niles was like middle.
No, Niles is
Well,
it's in a good area. It's not
yeah,
like
middle class, right?
yeah, middle class. I mean, we have lots of great resources. Like, very blessed with that. And definitely, this is one area where they have invested lots of resources too. I mean, we're even up to the point we're trying to find bilingual specialists in terms of bilingual social workers because of our community as well.
Yeah, so that's also
Mhm.
been the argument
Yeah.
in the school system where kids don't get the same resources, get the same services. Like my sister is a social worker in CPS, and she's always saying, the lack of what she can do for kids because she's just one person in a school of 1,000 kids. Like, it's hard, right? So I just wanted to bring that up. And then, of course, we have Liza. She's commenting. She put, it depends on teacher in school as well. I think she was agreeing with you, Maria, when you were conversating. We had a student cry every day. Liza's also a school teacher. She said medication works differently in children than adults. Then Nara said, so when is Nara going to start her own podcast? I think it's something that needs to be shared. Absolutely, definitely. And then they might not understand if those feelings are normal. So all great comments, great conversation around this. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, Nara. And then, of course, we're going to go into our final discussion, the game changer.
Could I just say one thing? I have a real quick, just because I also know it's ADHD is mental health, but I just wanted to just wrap it up and say anybody with mental health, sometimes if they're even able to verbalize that, they can't do something or they're having a rough day, sometimes to just like give that to them and not challenge it just because they may have a full face of makeup or they may be very well put together, doesn't mean that on the inside there's not something going on. And I know a lot of times we tend to poke or prod or, oh, well, you're sick. Like, what do you mean? And I just wanted to close out the thought with sometimes just give it to the person without poking and prodding, or just give it to them and just let them have that day if they're even able to verbalize that.
Give them space.
Yeah, give them the grace that they need. Absolutely,
Yes,
I agree. And I think anybody that's having a rough day, give them the space,
Yeah.
right? The
Yes.
respect. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So let's go into our next topic of discussion, and then you can share, at the end, we'll wrap up with final thoughts. The game changers. So this was something that Maria actually started talking about. Maria was the
Yeah.
one that
I
shared it 2 weeks
I have to
ago.
give my husband credit for that because he was also looking for something on TV and he's like, "Oh, you got to watch this." So I was like,
Oh,
"Okay, what is it?" So we started watching it. It is on Netflix, and it is a documentary about plant-based eating. However, the difference here, I mean, we hear about that all the time, right? Plant-based is better for you. Eat what the earth has given to you instead of processed foods or oh, look at that beautiful baby there. Distraction, squirrel. um, and the what impacted me most, and I think maybe you guys will agree, is that the primary focus of this documentary was the impact that plant-based diets have on men. And a lot of times, people will say, "Oh, plant-based diets is for sissies," that only women do that, so I hate to say that word also, so I apologize if I if I made anybody feel bad, but it's just the way of the world, right? You're macho, you have to eat your steak and your pork chops and your this and your potatoes. So it doesn't have to be that way, especially because those the steaks and they have so many byproducts and so many other things that the animals are fed that then go into your body. So they focused on bodybuilders and athletes and huge big sports names that follow a plant-based diet and are super duper healthy and strong.
yeah.
So it was super interesting to see. They also focused, the guy that did the documentary went back and did research that even the gladiators from, the ancient times also had, what was it, Nara, barley and beans or something? Barley. It was
Mhm.
plant-based. They were not, and they were like the strongest people out there, doing their thing. So highly encourage you to watch it. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, I took, for me, because I've seen Forks Over Knives, and then I saw this one, and when I watched Forks Over Knives, I became vegetarian for 2 years. So I know that, I was like, if I watch this, I know it's gonna encourage me to go back vegetarian, right?
Mhm,
Actually, I watched it yesterday. I couldn't even eat dinner meat. I was like, I gotta eat something vegetarian because I already watched this documentary.
yeah.
What I really enjoyed was the athletic aspect to it,
Mhm,
and there were like even women, like they had the track star,
mhm,
she was doing the
mhm,
400-meter. They had a cyclist, a woman also who's 39 and raced in the Olympics, but it
mhm,
was because she was just that good of an athlete because she gives it all to her diet.
mhm,
So for me, I guess my biggest takeaway was the part of like the recovery, the repair. When you do plant-based diets, you can put more blood flow into your
mhm,
muscles,
mhm,
which makes you stronger. And that's what caught my attention because, we're always trying to, keep ourselves healthy, work out, run, walk, whatever we do, right? So I really enjoyed listening to how athletes benefit from plant-based diets.
mhm,
Um, and that just really just shows you like even the marketing, like we don't realize that at one point in time they showed in the documentary, uh, smoking, right? In the
mhm, mhm,
1920s and 30s, it
mhm,
was like, smoke your cigarette. Babe Ruth does
mhm.
it. And they showed all these sports figures like
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, smoking causes cancer and you're going to die of throat cancer. Like that's what they said Babe Ruth died from, right?
Mhm,
Now they're doing the same thing, the meat industry, same thing, but with meat, right? Like, you need
mhm,
to eat meat. It's good for you. You're a man. You're not a man if you don't eat
mhm,
meat, right? Like
mhm,
now the way that they market it is like meat means manly.
mhm,
So I don't know
Well,
what you guys thought.
a steak, the tomahawk steak, the chiseled man eating his steaks and his
right, right.
tomahawks. And
Yeah.
one thing that I loved about, Game Changers is how they wound it down, and how they ended the film was saying, just challenging people, why don't you just start by taking it out of one meal a day? Why don't you start by, can you challenge yourself to do, have two meals a day and one without, or, and build yourself up. And I know when I saw the movie, Maria had mentioned it like on a walk, when we were walking like a couple weeks ago, and I was already going plant-based. And I remember I got sick all of a sudden, but it wasn't like a cough. It wasn't COVID. I didn't have a fever. I didn't have a flu. I didn't really understand what was going on. And I said, oh, you know what? It's probably because I went plant-based and I took meat out of my diet and I didn't do it correctly. And now I got myself sick. And great. And I was, I had been sick from Friday night to Sunday morning, and then I slept the whole time. And then all of a sudden I just like woke up and I was fine. Really weird. I had never been like sick like that before.
But that's because you ate something, right? You had a steak or something.
Well, I think what it was because I had been going plant-based for a couple of weeks at that point. I was going to add in meat back into my diet, and I was just like, oh, this just isn't for me. And I decided to watch the movie, and in the movie they talked about the like the parasites and things like that. And I did some more research, and I realized I was probably sick because the parasites were dying off, and they were trying to get me to eat meat again. They were trying to get their host, and because they hadn't had it, they were dying off, and I probably got sick from it. And that's not so far off for anybody watching. That's not when you go through parasites and stuff like that, you can get sick like that. But I wasn't like sick. I just had like a headache, and it was weird. So I watched it with my husband, and then I was like, I really think it was those parasites. Like, I think that they were dying off, and they were, trying to get, it's like when a woman's on her cycle and you start eating all these carbs and you don't know why. It's because your body is looking for energy. It was kind of like the same thing, but I wasn't giving it to them. So they decided to die off. And when we decided to go plant-based as a family, especially with my baby, she's had 3 to 5 number 2 diapers, full consistency, not diarrhea or anything like that, every single day for over a week since we decided to go plant-based.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. A lot of fiber.
Yeah, that's a lot of fiber, I think. And then one thing that, and me, I'm always looking, if you guys know me, I'm always trying different things and always researching. And, I've brought different people that have talked about keto, or we've done like these other, I don't know. What's the other one? Not
vegetarian?
Vegan?
Vegetarian, vegan, but we've talked about different stuff on the show. I know keto we've talked about on the show. I can't even remember what. Even just shakes, protein shakes. I'm always supplements, right? Like, I think one of the things that they were saying in this documentary was that there's this false misconception, especially if you're a bodybuilder, that you need to eat protein that comes from an animal, right? And that's this like idea. And even I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger in the documentary that he was sharing that in the documentary, like he even thought that was a normal thing. Like, I need to eat meat. So I am actually like super, sorry guys, my baby just ran up here. And I'm like,
okay. We're keeping it real here.
I got distracted real quick. But I think that was a big thing. Like, the fact that no, in reality is you need carbs. You need good carbs that come from plants to repair those muscle fibers. But everyone, what do you hear? Is protein. You need to eat protein to build muscle, for recovery, for the muscles to grow. And they had that one bodybuilder in the documentary who beat all the meat eating ones,
Mhm.
right? And he was like, I eat a lot of carbs and I'm like ripped, right? And everyone's like, how are you so ripped eating carbs? Because
Mhm.
there's this misconception that you need to eat protein. And even like McGregor, for those that watch, fighting, the ultimate
Mhm.
fighting,
Mhm.
he was like, I guess he was going into a fight. He was like, I eat 2 steaks a day, and and he got his butt kicked by
Mhm.
the vegan who had
Mhm.
more energy, had more stamina, who he was considered an underdog when he was
Mhm.
fighting
Mhm.
him because he's one of the
On
top.
an 11-day notice.
On
This
Mhm.
was
an
not
Yeah.
a this was not a planned fight. The vegan had 11 days to train to
Mhm.
fight the world title holder
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
beat
yeah,
him in
and
11
beat
days.
and beat him. And McGregor said he was faster. He said, he thought the meat was gonna help him, but in reality, the meat made him more sluggish.
Mhm. Mhm.
It didn't make
Yeah.
him as fast. And so it was just really fascinating watching that documentary. And like I said yesterday, I was like, I can't eat meat. I need to eat something that
Mhm.
has vegetarian in it. Like now I have this knowledge. Like
Yes.
I don't want to go against the grain, right? So
Mhm.
but I actually I was vegetarian for 2 years. I just couldn't let go of cheese. That was my only setback. I couldn't let go of cheese. Beans were life. I know Nara, we're talking.
Yeah, I told my husband last night, I'm like, I think we had, as a family, I think we had a great first week. We did a lot of beans and grains, but like there's a whole array of vegetables out there. And
Mhm.
another thing I want to tell people too, like just from my experience, I started researching gut health, and it's, when you get rid of things that have organisms like parasites or like bad bacteria that's bad for our body, like meat has, like the carcinogens, it's not uncommon make to have those bad things make you feel like you're hungry. It's
Mm.
very, very common to have that. So, we could be sitting here, and that was like a big deterrent because this is not the first time that I've tried to do this. And I've always gone back to meat because I've always felt hungry. Now I understand
Mm.
that it wasn't actually my body saying, "Hey, I'm hungry." Because right now I'm tracking too. I track everything I eat. I track my calorie intake, so I know. Like I was telling myself, what is the difference? Why am I feeling hungry? I've ate all these calories. I'm still eating all these calories, so I know my body is getting the fuel that it needs.
Yeah.
So it's a symptom. Like if you give up meat and you're starting to feel hungry and things, it's not necessarily the need for protein. It
Can't
could
hear you.
be other things going on.
Yeah. Let me share these comments. Like Liza, she wrote, oh no, Mary wrote, it's the consistency of baby steps that get you to the goal of where you want to go. And Liza's actually doing plant-based right now. She said that's what I've been doing.
I wonder,
She's
Liza, if you're on, how is your liver?
Yeah, she's doing the Atkins Mediterranean, she wrote. Then we have meat stays in your body longer too. And I know that it takes longer to digest meat versus plants, right? Um, and then gut health is the most important thing for so many things like mental health as well. And she
Yes,
said she's
Liza.
going to recheck today how her liver is. I think, and you have the caveman diet. What's it called? Paleo diet, right? Everyone's talking
Mm.
about the paleo diet.
That's right.
They talked about the
Mhm.
paleo diet in the documentary where like, nah, really they weren't eating a lot of meat because if you're trying to survive in caveman days, you're looking for fruits and vegetables. You're not looking for like, let me see what animal I can kill. And that they made a really good point, one of the scientists. We can see color. We can see
Mhm.
color because we need to see fruits and vegetables on trees to figure out what we can eat compared to a carnivore, a real carnivore like a lion. They don't see color. So that was something that was like brought to my attention like, oh wow, I didn't realize that like a lion can't see color the way we see color. That's got to be
Mhm.
like
Oh
that
yeah.
stood out.
Mhm. Mhm.
And two things they said in there for a pre-workout is just beet juice. A pre-workout is just beet juice, and then the recovery is carb loading. And I have to say, I have to go back to my baby because she's 9 months old. She's like, all of this. I have to say that the biggest changes I've seen are in her, from what the documentary said. Remember the cyclist when she said that she just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going? It was all of a sudden she had so much energy. Well, my daughter has had so much energy. She's been way more consistent. And because she's so little, it was easier to see such like changes like this in her. And it was everything I saw in her, everything that the documentary said, everything. And I could not believe it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think it's, I mean, I think I'm going to go back to, I was telling my husband, like, I need to go back to it. I think I want to, even if I don't go full, like I said, cheese has always been my biggest setback. But even if I go to vegetarian and I can get rid of everything else except the cheese, I think I can. I'll do well. And for me, one of the biggest things was the cortisol. Like I know I got to bring the cortisol levels down. I know that I was just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, maybe this is exactly what I need to go back to because it makes you feel better. You have more energy. So I know that I had real good success being a vegetarian compared to other diets, compared to other things. Like, and I enjoyed like the way I lost the weight on that diet versus not, I don't want to say diet, it's a lifestyle,
Yes,
right?
I was gonna say,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because I've done other things where I've lost weight and I feel loose. Like my
Mhm,
skin just
mhm,
feels loose and I just didn't like it. And maybe pairing it up with working out and lifting weights, I'd probably
mhm.
feel better. So that's something that I'm going to be doing, exploring now moving forward, just to share with you guys, because I thought, it really jumpstart that idea when I watched that documentary. So I appreciate you sharing the documentary with us, Maria.
Yeah, I would love to hear, maybe if we continue this conversation, whether it's in this community or even our running community, just what people are doing and maybe how it's impacting them. And maybe we can all learn from each other from experience. Obviously, we're all different because we're all different ages. We're all at different stages in our lives. Some of us are just have babies. Some of us are going through other changes, right? But this is huge. Like Liza's saying, everything you put into your body impacts you physically and mentally, and so it's important to stay healthy at whatever stage in your life is. And yeah, I agree, Jen. I hate it. I really stopped calling it a diet because when I started changing my diet, people are like, oh, you're on that diet, and I'm like, no, I've changed my lifestyle. That's what I've
Yeah.
done. It's not a diet because almost like a diet is like a period of time. Like I'm going to do
Yeah.
this for 6 months. Like really, if you want to impact really your everything about your body, because then it impacts your skin as well.
Yeah.
I know my skin started looking differently when I stopped eating certain things, and then you just feel good mentally. You're more alert and all those things. So change your lifestyle. Look at it that
Yeah.
way, and then ease into it. A lot of people have been commenting about that. Like take baby steps, to
Yeah.
make those changes.
Yeah, Liza says she's down 10 pounds
Awesome.
now,
Good
so
job, Liza.
congratulations.
Yeah.
And Mary said diets die and lifestyle gives life.
Yes.
I like that
Absolutely. I love
saying.
that.
Veggies give life.
Yeah, and have you guys seen the 60-year-old woman, or I want to say she's in her 60s and she's plant-based and she looks like she's 30?
I
Mhm.
believe it.
She's written a book. She has a couple books. So her husband is in his 60s and he looks like he's her grandpa. Like she was like, people think he's my dad, and that's her husband. So I
Oh,
just
you
thought it
gotta
was,
share that. Share that with
yeah.
us.
Yeah, I'll share it. I'll look it up. If you put like
Hmm.
if I know it's something like she's plant-based and she's an African American woman and she looks
Mm.
great. So I think even the part of, a lot of people say, well, you don't get all your vitamins from going plant-based, which one of them is B12. But B12, they were even saying that you can't even get it from meat anymore because they're not even getting B12. They are
Mhm, mhm,
putting and injecting B12 into the meat. So they
mm.
say B12 is the only thing
Yeah.
that meat gives us, but really B12 comes from rivers and waters. But
Mm.
our
Man.
waters are so purified that they removed B12 from it. So you have to, in the document, it said you have to take a supplement to get your B12.
Regardless of what diet you
Yes.
have, especially in America, because I've heard, my husband's Mexican, and he's like, the food quality is horrible here. In Mexico, it's a lot better. But anywhere you are, you have to take supplements. Anywhere, no matter what diet you are, you have to be taking your supplement, especially in America, just because it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And actually I'm like I'm always, I love supplements. Like for me, I need supplements. Like there's no doubt about it. And yeah, Maria's nodding too. Like I have to I recently went on this this I want to say like sub food, I guess. And I already had an issue with hair loss, and I'm just gonna be really transparent. I've struggled with hair loss. After the second baby, I lose a lot of hair. I had Camila, lost more hair, so I was always trying to find a supplement for the hair loss that I have. And then I stopped taking the vitamins because I was consuming something else that gave you vitamins and minerals, but there was something missing in that, because again, then my hair started coming out again. Like, and I'm like crazy, like a lot of balls. So I was like, no, I need to go back to my supplements, because if not, I'm gonna be bald. And
So
I
what is it? Collagen does collagen help that? What is the supplement that you take?
I take full multivitamin supplements. I have everything, the probiotic, it has the B12, it has the biotin.
Biotin
I
as well. Yeah.
yeah. I
Biotin is what the
Yeah, I take collagen now for my skin, but I think it's the
okay.
biotin, but I think it's the quality, right? Like there's a difference between, like, you can have this set of vitamins and the quality's not the same as these set of vitamins. Because even like recently I was looking at a probiotic, um, and it only has, after you asked me the question of what do I know about gut health, I know you're supposed to take 12 billion of the bacteria inside the protein. Like that's like the highest quality of a protein. I'm sorry, probiotic, right? Because of what I've researched. But then the one that I looked, and I was like, the one that I was taking right now, I was like, this only has 5. So I'm not even
Mm.
getting the full amount of healthy bacteria in my gut to clean it out. So it's really critical to look at those, like how much of milligrams are you getting of this? How much are you getting of this vitamin, right? So it's just something that I wanted to
And
share.
also, excuse me for interrupting. I wanted to just point on that. Like for me, I know that, we are, just we have like one income, so we have to watch our money all the time, and that's kind of what got me onto a kick of looking into different things, because at first I was like, well, I don't want to buy Walmart vitamins because like the quality, like everything that you were saying basically. And I started looking into like herbs and just natural remedies, stuff that you can get at the store. But if you buy one spice and you use it, you can use it 50, 60, 70 times. It's almost like buying it in bulk. And I started to do a lot of research on that, for like the hair loss or the thyroid or something. Like what's a natural remedy, not remedy, but really what's a more natural way for me to get this in herbs and in spices of something that I can make at home and use over and over and over again. And that's been a journey, and it takes a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit of research that maybe somebody might not have, but it's well worth it to be able to research, because I was like, I'm going to be spending $30 on this vitamin. Even Walmart vitamins aren't cheap, but I'm not really going to get what I need out of this. Like I've seen documentaries like this is filled with sugar, so it's like even the whole vitamin industry is, but there's a remedy to that. If you're like me and a little strapped for, cash, you can always do, look up in spices and in teas and in herbs too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. I need my vitamins. I need them. If I don't get them, I will like I know my body will feel it. So, I actually got a book that compares all the vitamins in the US, Canada, and in Central America. So, it shows you by how many stars. It's an independent doctor, which ones are the best. So if you guys want to just send me like, hey, check out these vitamins, I'll tell you how many stars it has.
And
So
I have to back Jen up on this. I sent her $90 vitamins, and they had like 2 stars.
Yeah. Oh, you
Well,
remember? You did tell me that. And I was like, "Bro,
yeah,
this is what your vitamins say." Like,
yeah,
but
and
it's
it's
good to be
yeah,
aware. It's good, right?
yeah. And bad vitamins don't necessarily have to come from Walmart. They can come from, like I said, I sent her something I was paying $90 a month for.
Yeah.
So knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. Um,
Absolutely.
and Jen, let me know if you want to do the gut health thing. So I've been looking into gut health, Maria. That's going to be my next hyper focus. Well, it is currently.
Yeah. Yeah. Share, share, share.
Yeah, share. We'll
So,
talk about it
Mm-hmm.
next week. But thank you so
Yeah.
much, ladies. I know it's 1:20. 1:20.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We've
Hour
been
20.
on we've been out on for an hour 20. So anything you want to share, Maria, that you want to promote, and you as well, Nara?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead, Nara?
just for me, for like the mental health, domestic abuse, I think I said it already. Knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we have, that's something nobody can take away from all the topics that we talked about, Indigenous People Day and things like that. As long as we're self-educating ourselves with a plethora of information, it really is key. And for me, how I work, when I understand where somebody's coming from or how they're thinking, it's instantly relatable to me. So,
Mm,
and watch the movie, watch Maids, because for me, my point on Maid was that it touched on everything but the physical. And there's so much more that goes into DV situations than just getting hit because, somebody lost their temper. So.
Yeah.
mhm.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
sharing.
much. So a couple of things I wanted to let people know about. I mentioned I'm president of the Fig Factor Foundation, and we have a workshop online this week on Thursday. Ramiro Atristain is going to share with us some of his knowledge, and it's through Eventbrite. So it's a free event, and it will be bilingual, Spanish and English. So if you know anybody who might be interested in learning about this, and then of course I will share some resources and things at our domestic violence event next week, the 22nd. And what else was I going to say? I'll also share the website for the Fig Factor Foundation, because our mentor program helps young Latinas between the ages of 12 and 25. And the next core group will be February and March, but the young girls can apply for it now so that we can get our groups going. And I'd really love for you guys to share this out. If you know any girls who would love a little bit of mentoring and coaching, just like with life issues and schooling, and we also have scholarships and all kinds of stuff. So I'll share the website, and then you guys can take a quick look at that. All right. So thank you so much, Jen. This was fun as always.
Yes, thank you. And for everyone engaging, thank you. I do want to make sure I share Liza said the compound effect. That was a
Mhm.
good book that we read in our book club.
Yeah.
The American Diet is all I hear from the doctor. Collagen does help,
Oh, it does help
absolutely.
hairloss. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially online supplements. We have Mary said you need a probiotic and a prebiotic, so that's
Mm.
good. Natural is better. And Mary, you need to give us more information on this prebiotic.
Yeah, I
What do
never
you?
heard of that.
Yeah, and then Nara, Liza, she agreed with you.
Can I tell Liza really, really quick? Eliza, if you do peppermint tea and 1 teaspoon of coconut before as your morning beverage, before anything else, that's supposed to really help your gut.
We're gonna definitely
It's
Awesome.
supposed
try
to help
that.
the liver too. So I'd be interested to see
There's
Who
Sandra.
does that?
Yeah,
Oh, that
there's
is Sandra, right? From
Yes,
yesterday?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah,
that's Sandra.
yeah.
Hi,
I read it.
Sandra.
It's a compound effect. Yeah, she read the compound effect. She agrees it's so good. Awesome.
Mhm.
Then we have she said hi ladies, and then Liza said thank you. So then just friendly reminder, we're gonna have another coaching cohort launch on the
Mhm.
17th. That's pretty exciting to get another round of women getting together, getting we had an event on Friday. It was a private event, and I was just like, I what did I say, Maria, about you? Like I cracked that whip, or what did I say? Like like we said, come on, Maria, get those goals done. No, but we're really goal oriented, a lot of accountability, a lot of training involved. So I definitely got to share information on that. But the 22nd, we have it's a domestic violence awareness event. Uh, and what we're going to have is we're going to talk about investments, like real estate investments. We're going to talk about saving some money, having an emergency fund. And then we're going to have, you're going to create your own oil-based perfumes. Like you get to create your own scent. And I thought, why not make a nice product that you can take home, that you really enjoy, that makes you feel good, you smell good, or gift it to a lady that you
Mhm.
feel like maybe you want to just show some love on her. It's all part of the ticket cost, and then a percentage of the ticket we're going to donate it to a domestic violence organization, a DV org that is doing things for women who are in those situations. So thank you so much, ladies. Sandra, we give you a heart right back, girlfriend. um
Yes, I hear.
yeah, heart. So we're super excited for the event. Make sure that you guys look for the information. I will also put it on the thread, and you guys have an amazing rest of your week.
All
Oh,
right. Yes.
I, I
Nara
think
froze.
I
This
think
was so
Nara
funny.
froze. She did. All right.
Oh
All
my
right.
Mm.
goodness. All
All
right.
right, ladies. Have a good one. Everyone,
Thank
thank you.
you.
God bless you. Bye
Have a
bye.
great day.
Bye, Nara.
Mm.
There she